Chapter 817. After dealing with the envoys, Luo Qingtong, Elder Lan Yue, Grand Tutor Jiang, and the others returned to the main hall of Tianyu Imperial Palace. Elder Ling didn't dare to disturb them, so he asked someone to bring in the tea. Even he didn't enter the hall. It wasn't a place he could stay. Princess Shengning, you're really different from the rest. Grand Tutor Jiang stroked his beard and smiled. I went to the Luo clan to deliver the gifts from the sacred dynasty. I thought I wouldn't have a chance to meet you. I didn't expect you to come back and meet me here. There were no outsiders here, so Grand Tutor Jiang naturally called Luo Qingtong by her title. Ahem. Luo Qingtong coughed softly. If she hadn't tricked Yi Qianxian, she would still be in Shu, in the Black Field. There were plenty of ingredients for refining medicine there. Why would she need to come to the Tianyu Empire to borrow them? But it just so happened that she came back. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know if the Ling clan was humiliated or destroyed. How would she explain it to Ling Tianhan and Ling Yuer? After all, it was because of her that the Ling clan and the Tianyu Imperial Palace had such a grudge. With that thought, Luo Qingtong's eyes sharpened. I hope Grand Tutor Jiang can give me a perfect explanation for this. I want to know who's behind the envoys, who's behind them, and who's related to them. UNMO better not have anything to do with this. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She had thought that since he didn't know about the Tianyu Imperial Palace's persecution of the Luo clan, she would let it go. But if he insisted on avenging the Tianyu Imperial Palace, then don't blame her for completely eliminating him. Don't worry, Princess Shengning. I'll get to the bottom of this, Grand Tutor Jiang said. Then he turned to the young man beside him. Your Highness, what do you think? Of course. How dare you use the name of the Holy Dynasty to commit such atrocities? Such behavior should be severely punished. The young man's face was indifferent. In his words, he didn't say that he wanted to stand up for Luo Qingtong, but the meaning behind his words was clear. These words were extremely clever. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but look at the other party a few more times. Your Highness? Luo Qingtong had guessed that the other party's identity was unusual when he said that he wanted Grand Tutor Jiang to recommend the Tianyu Empire to become the Holy Dynasty Commandery. Now, according to Grand Tutor Jiang's words, the other party was actually a member of the royal family of the Sacred Dynasty. To be able to make Grand Tutor Jiang, an elder who had served 3 emperors, address him as Your Highness and act so respectfully. A name suddenly popped into Luo Qingtong's mind, Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin. Sure enough, the other party nodded at her and then said with a smile, Ma Qinyi, Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin. The young man's words were very casual and amiable. Although he introduced himself as the Crown Prince, there was no sense of arrogance. On the contrary, it made people feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze and very comfortable. Luo Qingtong looked at the young man in surprise. She didn't expect him to really be the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin. Old Master Lan Yue was also very surprised. He didn't expect the elegant young man beside Grand Tutor Jiang to be the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin. It was said that the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin was elegant and gentlemanly. Now it seemed that it was true. Chapter 818. I came out with the Grand Tutor to relax. I didn't expect to meet Princess Shengning here. I'm really lucky. Ma Qinyi smiled. He really didn't expect to meet Luo Qingtong here. Logically speaking, she should be in Great Shu now. This encounter was truly a coincidence. Luo Qingtong also smiled. Yes, it's really a coincidence. She just wanted to congratulate the Ling family and take some herbs to refine medicine. Otherwise, she would have returned to Great Shu long ago. She wouldn't have met him here. Just as they were chatting, Grandfather Ling walked in respectfully from outside. Miss Qingtong, these are the herbs you asked for. After old Master Ling left, he immediately swept through the entire Tianyu royal family and the Ling family's treasures. He sent over all the medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong needed and could use. Luo Qingtong was the savior of the Ling family this time. If not for Luo Qingtong, the Ling family would have met with disaster. No matter what Luo Qingtong wanted, it wouldn't be too much. Furthermore, she only wanted some herbs. Moreover, Grandfather Ling had just heard about Luo Qingtong's gift from the younger generation. He immediately felt grateful to Luo Qingtong. Perhaps from Luo Qingtong's point of view, she saved the Ling family because of her responsibility. After all, the Ling family only rose to power because she wanted to go against the Tianyu imperial family. That was why they were targeted by Yuan Mo and suffered today's disaster. However, Grandfather Ling could see it clearly. Since the Ling family had such ambitions, they deserved to suffer such a calamity. Otherwise, they could have rejected Luo Qingtong's invitation to go against the Tianyu imperial family. Therefore, Luo Qingtong saved them out of morality and kindness. This was a huge favor to the Ling family. Grandfather Ling had already made up his mind. After this incident, he would immediately write a letter to Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu, telling them to follow Luo Qingtong's orders regardless of life or death. The Ling family swore to follow Miss Qingtong to death. Princess Shengning needs herbs? Seeing the herbs that Grandfather Ling sent over, Grand Tutor Jiang was slightly surprised. Then he quickly said, "Ah, I forgot about this. This is the Sacred Dynasty's gift to Your Highness, to congratulate Your Highness on becoming the Sacred Princess of the Great Chu." He took out a spatial storage ring as he spoke. Under Grandfather Ling's shocked gaze, he handed the spatial ring to Luo Qingtong. There are all kinds of rare herbs and resources inside. Maybe they can help you. At the same time, this spatial artifact as a token of the Empire of Qin. When Grand Tutor Jiang said this, he couldn't help but look a little proud. A Sumeru spatial spirit tool was extremely rare and precious within the true Spill continent. Among the four great Holy Dynasty, the Empire Holy Dynasty was able to produce spatial artifacts. Although it was quite different from the Sumeru spatial spirit tools that had been passed down since ancient times, and the space of the spirit tools was extremely small, only 1 to 2 to 3 square meters. But it was enough for them to be proud. After all, if others wanted such a storage artifact, they could only come to the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty. Spatial artifact? Grandfather Lanyue was surprised. Is this the masterpiece of your Holy Dynasty's Grandmaster Me? Seeing Grand Tutor Jiang nod, he immediately understood. Chapter 819. If this was a Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact, it was no wonder that the people of the Empire of Qin were so generous as to give it to Luo Qingtong. This would not only give them face, but also show the power of the Empire of Qin. But the people of the Empire of Qin probably didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be the evil Dr. Ghost Eye of the Black Field. With how much the Black Field and Ming Zun value her, how could she not have a Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact? Old Master Lanyue thought to himself. However, even if Luo Qingtong had a Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact, it didn't mean that the people around her had one as well. The Empire of Qin was still very smart. While Elder Yin was thinking about this, Elder Ling, who was next to him, was already stunned by what he had heard. Princess Shengning? Luo Qingtong was actually Princess Shengning, the one who had caused a stir recently and had already spread throughout the four great sacred dynasties. The one who had defeated Great Yang's first princess, Princess Feng Wan, and was personally conferred the title of Princess Shengning by the transcendent saint of Great Chu. My God, no wonder Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid of the envoys from the Empire of Qin at all. She didn't even reveal her identity as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Yet those envoys and the Empire of Qin's elite guards were already helpless against her. No wonder Grand Tutor Jiang was so polite and respectful to her. It turned out that Luo Qingtong was Princess Shengning. Master Ling's mouth was wide open. Just as his eyes widened and he didn't know what to say, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and took the Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact. Then she smiled. She used her spiritual energy to investigate the inside and found that this was a Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact. It was just a fake Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact. That's right, it couldn't even be considered a fake Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact. It could only be called a fake Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact. This Sumeru spatial spirit artifact used a special type of spatial spirit stone to open up a space inside, using refining methods. The space opened in this way also had the effect of storing things, but it was very unstable. After being opened and closed for a period of time, the space inside would easily collapse, and the things inside would be lost. It was on a completely different level from the Sumeru spatial spirit tool, refined by the inscription masters. However, this was still a good storage method if one ignored the space factor that could easily collapse. Luo Qingtong thought about it, and her spirit imprinted a circle in it, stabilizing the space. She tossed the contents into her own useless ring before handing the Sumeru spatial spiritual tool to Grandfather Ling, who was standing beside her, and said, "All right, Grandpa Ling, I'm sorry for what happened today. I haven't given you a gift for the succession of the Ling family. Now that the Tianyu Empire has become a commandery, this space spiritual device is a gift for you." Luo Qingtong accepted the elixir prepared by Grandfather Ling and was prepared to express her gratitude. The Sumeru spatial spiritual device, given by the Holy Dynasty of the Empire of Qin, was a good gift for her. With Luo Qingtong's current inscription skills, she could easily carve and refine a space storage ring of more than 10 square meters. However, this Sumeru spatial spiritual device, given by the Holy Dynasty of the Empire of Qin, had a different meaning. With this Sumeru spatial spiritual artifact, the Ling family would not be so helpless when envoys bullied them in the future. What Luo Qingtong gave Old Master Ling was not so much a space ring. Chapter 820. Grand Tutor Jiang and the others could see the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's actions, and their opinion of the Ling family increased. To be able to receive Luo Qingtong's protection, the Ling family's misfortune this time was a blessing in disguise. When Grandfather Ling received the Sumeru spatial artifact from Luo Qingtong, he was completely stupefied. Then, he quickly reacted and hurriedly knelt down before Luo Qingtong. He felt that the luckiest thing that had happened to his family in this lifetime was meeting Luo Qingtong and receiving her protection and support. "Thank you, Miss Qingtong. From now on, our Ling family will follow Miss Qingtong without hesitation, even if it means death. We will share honor and disgrace, life and death." He knelt on the ground and swore to Luo Qingtong. The reason why they didn't use the title of Princess Shengning previously was that regardless of whether Luo Qingtong was Princess Shengning or not, they would still follow her to death. "Grandfather Ling, quickly get up." Luo Qingtong helped him up. The latter's eyes were brimming with tears. After bidding farewell to Grand Tutor Jiang and the others, he hurriedly left the main hall. He knew what he was doing. There were some things that he might not be able to hear. Moreover, he still had to go back and inform the entire family of his loyalty to Luo Qingtong. Qiu Manling's incident could not happen again. Their Ling family definitely could not be disrespectful to Luo Qingtong. If such a situation happened again, they would be directly crippled and expelled from the family. Their Ling family did not have such a descendant. If the other party was not convinced and felt that they were not part of the Ling family, fine. Don't ever visit our Ling family again. From now on, they would sever all ties and have nothing to do with each other. Thinking this, Grandfather Ling's expression was very cold. Princess Shengning is really clear about gratitude and grudges. She knows how to repay kindness. Ma Chen had been watching from the side, his eyes serene. After Grandfather Ling left, he slowly said, "I heard that Princess obtained the corpse of Great Yang's 7th prince. Furthermore, she has already extracted the power of bloodline and fate from it. I have a spiritual herb here called the 7-leaf blood refining lotus. It has an excellent effect on improving bloodline compatibility and fusion. Take it as a congratulatory gift from me to the princess." As he spoke, he took out a jade box from his bosom. The nearly transparent lid of the jade box reflected a blood-red, fiery spirit lotus. The leaves on it were like fire and blood, looking extremely beautiful and gorgeous. At first glance, one could tell that it was not an ordinary spirit medicine. "Heaven rank spirit medicine," Old Master Yin Yu exclaimed. This gift from the crown prince of the Empire of Qin was extraordinarily valuable. However, what Luo Qingtong paid attention to was not the grade of the medicine, but the effect of the medicine. It could promote bloodline fusion and increase compatibility. If it was used to refine pills for grandfather, wouldn't it be better and faster for grandfather to absorb the power of bloodline and fate from Great Yang 7th Prince? Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. Good. Then I thank your highness the crown prince for his gift. Luo Qingtong could find heaven-rank herbs if she wanted, but this heaven-rank herb that could promote bloodline fusion and increase compatibility was not something that Luo Qingtong could find immediately. Ma Chenye's gift could be said to have reached the bottom of her heart. Many thanks, your highness the crown prince. It's fine. I also have a method on how to better absorb and fuse bloodline power. If the princess needs it, you can take it as well. Ma Chenye smiled as he took out another item in his hand. He was originally a descendant of the Empire of Qin's imperial family, and he was also an outstanding talent. Chapter 821. He had already delivered the item to her. How could Luo Qingtong not want it? She put away the 7-leaf blood, refining lotus, and the technique, then looked at him meaningfully. Your highness, I'll remember this favor. I'll definitely repay it in the future. For Luo Qingtong, she didn't deserve it. Although it was Ma Chenye who gave it to her, Luo Qingtong still owed him a favor by accepting it. She would definitely find a chance to repay it in the future. Ma Chenye smiled, but didn't say anything. After Luo Qingtong left Tianyu Imperial Capital with the things, and Elder Lanyue also left, Grand Tutor Jiang looked at Ma Chenye with a worried expression. Your Highness, these two things, the bloodline refinement technique aside, it was something all descendants of the imperial family who inherited the bloodline had. However, the crown prince had spent a lot of effort to obtain the 7-leaf blood refining lotus. For this reason, he had expended a lot of effort and lost a lot of experts to obtain this 7-leaf blood refining lotus. Your Highness, that 7-leaf blood refining lotus is extremely important to you. Before Grand Tutor Jiang could finish, Ma Chenye stopped him. It's fine. I know my own situation very well. Even if I really bring the 7-leaf blood refining lotus to the Black Domain and find the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, I might not be able to last for long. Ma Chenye lowered his head as he spoke. Through a technique unique to the imperial family of the Empire of Qin, he saw the dragon-shaped providence in his body lying there on the verge of death. Its 2 horns were broken and its 5 claws were useless. It was a sign of death, a dying dragon. As the crown prince of the great Qin Empire, the dragon-shaped destiny that appeared from the power of Mo Chenye's bloodline actually showed signs of dying. Black lines twined around the dragon-shaped providence, polluting and extracting the power of providence within. The dragon-shaped providence wailed, and its power of providence became thinner and thinner. When this dragon-shaped luck completely fell, it would be the time when Mo Chenye's true dragon luck would be completely cut off. At that time, he would no longer be the legitimate crown prince of the Empire of Qin. He would be an ordinary descendant of the imperial family. Looking at the dragon of providence, Ma Chenye's elegant eyes narrowed slightly. He was the one who inherited the strongest bloodline of the imperial family of the Empire of Qin from birth. From the moment he was born, his position as the crown prince was established. He was taught personally by the emperor and assisted by the ministers of the 3 dynasties. He was proficient in both political and martial arts. He was born to be a ruler. However, in these years, his providence and bloodline power of providence had been constantly draining. The true dragon providence, which had already grown strong, was constantly being devoured. He had searched everywhere, but couldn't find the problem's problem. However, it must have something to do with his good younger brother, who suddenly rose to power. Ever since Ma Chenye's position as the crown prince was confirmed, no one in the imperial family of the Empire of Qin could compete with him. After all, there was only one true dragon. The power of providence from other bloodlines could not be compared to it. However, this situation had completely changed since his good younger brother returned a few years ago. Two dragons fighting. His opponent's providence and bloodline power were not inferior to his. Moreover, his providence had transformed from a flood dragon into a dragon. Chapter 822. Over the years, Ma Chenye's true dragon power had been constantly declining, while the other party had been growing stronger with each passing day. Ma Chenye would never believe that there was no connection between the two, but he couldn't find out where the problem was. He could only rely on those spiritual medicines that strengthened and stabilized his bloodline power to maintain the vitality of his true dragon power. But this only treated the symptoms and not the root cause. He had to grasp the root cause to completely end this situation. He had followed Grand Tutor Jiang out this time, partly for this reason. Luo Qingtong had obtained the corpse of Great Yang's seventh prince and extracted the bloodline power and power of destiny from it, causing Great Yang's destiny to be damaged. This matter could be hidden from others, but it couldn't be hidden from the royal family of the four dynasties, although it was very likely that the Supreme of the Blackfield had contributed to this. But since Luo Qingtong was able to invite the Supreme of the Blackfield, then befriending her would only be beneficial to Ma Chenye. He was already in this state, what else could he not lose? If he could invite the Supreme of the Blackfield through Luo Qingtong to examine the problem with his bloodline, that would naturally be for the best. If he couldn't, befriending that young girl would be extremely fortunate. Ma Chenye thought of the moment when he had followed Grand Tutor Jiang into the square of Tianyu Imperial Palace. The young girl stood in the center of the crowd like a flourishing flame, blooming like a dazzling red lotus. Absolutely beautiful and domineering. Overbearing and domineering. He really didn't expect that the young girl who had been conferred the title of Great Chu's Princess would be so charming, truly like a jade pearl, shining brightly when closed. He clasped his hands behind his back, his elegant eyes filled with admiration and admiration. Even his gaze couldn't help but stop for such a young girl. That Yuan Mo actually disdained and looked down on her? What kind of eyesight did he have? With Ma Chenye's education and upbringing, he couldn't say the word blind, but he really did feel that way. If he had such a fiancée, he wouldn't even look at other women. Thinking of what he knew about Yuan Mo in the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty, Ma Chenye snorted and said to Grand Tutor Jiang, "Grand Tutor, let's go back." In addition, this time, the envoy came to the Tianyu Empire to deliver the imperial edict, but he disobeyed the imperial edict. This must be thoroughly investigated. Uproot all the aristocratic families and forces that are involved in this matter. Eradicate them all. No matter who comes to plead for leniency, just say that it's an order from me. At this moment, Ma Chenye's elegant and gentle aura completely retreated, revealing the aura of a high and mighty king. Over the years, because his bloodline power and power of providence had been taken away, he had gradually fallen from grace in the imperial court. But no matter how crouching a dragon was, it was still a dragon. He was the dragon of the Empire of Qin, the future crown prince of the Holy Dynasty. Unless the sage emperor personally issued a decree, his words were irrefutable. No one could stop him. Even if the sage emperor personally issued a decree, as long as Ma Chenye insisted, he could resist it without harming the foundation of the empire. Moreover, Luo Qingtong gave him such a good excuse to act this time, humiliating Great Chu's princess. Let's see if he didn't ruthlessly pull out his good little brother's claws and teeth when he returned this time. How much he could escape would depend on the other party's ability. As for Yuan Mo, Ma Chenye's eyes narrowed slightly. Chapter 823. Tell our people to protect them. We don't need to go overboard. We just need to make sure they're fine. Presumably, Luo Qingtong would be very willing to go back and teach those blind people a lesson. He wouldn't interfere in this matter. Moreover, letting Ling Tianhan and the others suffer a little would be beneficial to their growth. Ma Chenye had learned the way of the emperor since he was young, so he naturally knew what was the best course of action. As for Yuan Ma, he really didn't know what kind of expression he would have when he found out that the fiancée he looked down on so much turned out to be such a precious pearl. What an idiot! Even if such a treasure was in his hands, he would still miss it. Ma Chunyi shook his head and left the Tianyu Empire with Grand Tutor Jiang, returning to the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty. After all, he had already met Luo Qingtong's people, so there was no need for him to go to the Luo family. After leaving the Tianyu Empire, Luo Qingtong returned to the Heavenly Evil Valley and began to refine the elixir for Grandfather Luo. With the 7-leaf blood refining lotus given by Ma Chunyi and the herbs in the gift from the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty, it was more than enough for her to refine the bloodline elixir. After the 7-leaf blood refining lotus was refined into an elixir, its medicinal efficacy would be increased by 200%. In addition to Luo Qingtong's medicine inscription technique, the medicinal efficacy would be even stronger. At that time, Grandfather Luo wouldn't have to worry about the bloodline fusion. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong threw the 7-leaf blood refining lotus and the other herbs into the square immortal cauldron to refine the elixir. This cauldron could automatically control the fire, so Luo Qingtong didn't have to worry about controlling it. Compared to the cauldron she used before, this one was many times better. Luo Qingtong was very grateful to the heavenly doctor who came to find trouble. If the other party could bring a treasure like the square immortal cauldron every time, it wouldn't matter even if he came to find trouble a few more times. She really didn't mind the trouble. Little Pig clicked his tongue in wonder when he saw Luo Qingtong refining the bloodline pill. This 7-leaf blood refining lotus is indeed a rare elixir, and it can improve the fusion and compatibility of bloodline power. It should be useful for the crown prince of the Empire of Qin, right? Why'd he give it to you? Little Pig propped up his cheeks and said, "He probably has something to ask of me." Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She thought of the scene she saw when Ma Chunyi gave her the medicine. The art of stealing fate? Someone was actually plundering Ma Chunyi's fate and bloodline power. No wonder when she saw Ma Chunyi, she felt that there was something wrong with his aura. However, Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the internal disputes of the royal family of the Empire of Qin. This kind of luck-seizing technique could only be done by people of the same bloodline. Ma Chunyi's draconic energy was weak, so someone else's draconic energy was strong. In this kind of battle for the throne, her identity as Luo Qingtong and Great Chu's conferred princess was too sensitive and special. It wasn't good for her to get involved. Luo Qingtong also didn't want to bring trouble to Grandfather Luo and Empress Dowager Yan Shi. Moreover, her relationship with Ma Chunyi wasn't close enough for her to expose her identity. Therefore, she didn't treat him at that time. When the time came, she would use the identity of evil Dr. Ghost Eyes to treat him. It could be considered as returning the favor. After all, didn't he give her the medicine for the person behind her who could refine Great Yong's 7th prince's bloodline power? However, he didn't expect that person to be her. Moreover, the 7th prince's bloodline power wasn't extracted by her, but by the square immortal cauldron. Although Luo Qingtong couldn't extract the bloodline power, she still had a way to deal with the art of stealing fate. It can only be said that Ma Chunyi found the right person. Moreover, the way he gave the medicine was quite suitable for her taste. Chapter 824. Before Luo Qingtong left, she had already used her mental power to set up a protective barrier around the Ma Chunyi. During this period of time, the other party's power of destiny and bloodline would not be plundered. Luo Qingtong concentrated on refining pills. When she threw the power of destiny and bloodline that she had plundered from Great Yong's 7th prince into the square immortal cauldron and refined it together with the spiritual herbs, the wailing of the dragon of destiny above Great Yong's ancestral temple became even louder. Bang! In Great Yong's imperial palace, Feng Yuan was ruthlessly slapped and instantly fell to the ground. This is all because of you. The Saint Transcendence of Great Yong's imperial family was alarmed, and his hand that was pointing at Feng Yuan was trembling. Great Yong's face had been completely thrown away by this proud descendant of his. Now, Great Yong's Dragon of Destiny was still wailing. If not for the fact that Feng Yuan was the most outstanding member of the imperial family in this generation, This Saint Transcendence of Great Yang's imperial family would have strangled her to death. Only the heavens knew how he felt when he woke up and saw the dragon of destiny wailing. This was simply a disgrace to Great Yang. He clearly knew who did it, but he could not find the other party to settle the score. Vile spawn, do you know your wrongs? He looked at Feng Yuan and said furiously, Yuan knows her wrongs. I beg great-grandfather to calm down. Feng Yuan knelt on the ground. Her entire face swelled up, and blood continuously flowed from the corner of her lips. That slap from the Saint Transcendence of Great Yang's imperial family had directly broken the corner of her lips. However, Feng Yuan could not make sound. The fate of the nation was stolen, and her bloodline was lost. It was all her fault, and she had no way to defend herself. Thinking of the person who had caused her to face such a situation and humiliation, Feng Yuan's palm was about to be crushed by her own hands. Luo Qingtong, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, just you wait. Her heart was filled with hatred. The transcendent saint from Great Yang berated her for half a day and punished her to kneel for several hours before letting her go. However, this was also to make her go back home and reflect on her mistakes. Furthermore, Feng Yuan's saint title had been revoked. Committing such a mistake, your saint title is temporarily revoked. Since when have your achievements been able to offset your mistakes this time? I'll return this title to you later. The transcendent saint from Great Yang said as he retracted the multicolored light within Feng Yuan's body that represented Great Yang's fate. Feeling the loss of the multicolored light in his body, Feng Yuan felt even more hatred in his heart. She clenched her teeth. Ever since she had taken control of Great Yang's affairs at the age of 12, she had never suffered such a great loss or humiliation. In all of Great Yang, who would not be proud of her. But now he was being reprimanded and humiliated like this, and even his saint title was being stripped away. As for Luo Qingtong, that girl from an inferior country that she did not care about, she had become the saint princess of Great Chu in one leap. When the two of them meet in the future, the other party's status would be above hers, unless she could reclaim her saint title before that happened. However, how could this be easy? Great Chu had already completely cut off all paths, and they could no longer have any ideas. The only ones left were Great Qi and the Empire of Qin. However, Great Qi was too far away, and only the strongest country, the Empire of Qin, was left. Only by taking action against them would there be a possibility of reclaiming her saint title. Chapter 825. But Luo Qingtong was now the holy princess of Great Chu. Feng Yuan couldn't let herself lose to Luo Qingtong. She had already lost to the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She couldn't be suppressed by Luo Qingtong again. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan's eyes were hazy. Before returning to Great Yang, she would never have thought that she would be forced to this point by a person she looked down on. Luo Qingtong, evil Dr. Ghost Eye. These two bitches. Feng Yuan covered his swollen face that was as big as a steamed bun and instantly slammed his palm on the square table in front of him. At this moment, a faintly discernible connection quickly touched her. Feeling the source of the touch, Feng Yuan's expression changed slightly. She raised her hand and set up a boundary around her body. Then she changed her voice with a cold expression and said in a proud and low voice, King Wu of the Empire of Qin, what's the matter? In an extremely luxurious and noble mansion in the holy capital of the Empire of Qin, a young man with a gloomy and arrogant face, after reprimanding the people around him, said discontentedly to the air, the connection between Ma Chenyi and I has been cut off. Heavenly Doctor, didn't you say that this method of seizing fate is absolutely foolproof? No one will find any clues? What's going on now? Mo Qinchuan's expression was very sullen. He had been unable to absorb Ma Chenyi's qi of the true dragon for several days. Could it be that the other party had already sensed something and cut off the connection between the two of them? If so, he had to make plans early. Mo Chanxian was not afraid of anything else, but he was afraid that Ma Chenyi's qi of the true dragon would recover. At that time, Wouldn't he be beaten back to his original state? Thinking of this, Imo Chinchuan's eyes were even more gloomy and vicious. This is impossible. Feng Wan's voice was cold, and the meaning of her words was very arrogant. The method of seizing fate. Only I can use it, and no one can see through it. Even if you can see through it, it's impossible to break it. Otherwise, we would have been discovered when we attacked Ma Chenyi. How is it possible that you are still here safely and have plundered his fate and bloodline power to such an extent? Her words calmed Imo Chinxian down. In fact, he did not believe that Ma Chenyi had broken the luck-seizing technique. If that was the case, the other party would have already made a move on him. But even if he was seen through, it didn't matter. Imo Chinxian sneered. He looked at the Providence dragon in his body, which had grown to a very powerful level, and his face was full of pride. He had already absorbed almost all of Ma Chenyi's luck and bloodline power, unless Ma Chenyi had the ability to reverse and retrieve the bloodline power and the power of Providence. Otherwise, with the current power of karmic luck and bloodline, he wouldn't be able to withstand Yang Kai's attacks at all. He, Imo Chinxian, would definitely rise to the top. The Empire of Qin would be his sooner or later. But if that was the case, it would be a little troublesome for him to deal with Ma Chenyi. After all, he was the only real dragon in the Empire of Qin, the crown prince of the Holy Dynasty. Even if he was a dying dragon, he was not so easy to deal with. Imo Chinxian only hoped that he could absorb all of karmic luck and bloodline power, so that karmic luck would not be able to turn the situation around and fight back. In this way, he could really sit back and relax. Chapter 826. Imo Chenai had indeed obtained a 7-leaf blood refining lotus recently. Perhaps it was because of the 7-leaf blood refining lotus that he was unable to absorb the power of Providence from his bloodline. However, as long as the art of seizing fate was not broken, the power of the 7-leaf blood lotus would be consumed sooner or later. At that time, wouldn't Ma Chenyi be obedient and let him absorb it? Thinking of this, Imo Chinxian suddenly laughed and cut off the connection with Feng Wan. Suddenly cut off, Feng Wan's face turned ugly. But soon, the expression on her face recovered and she sneered. Imo Chinxian was a hidden chess piece that she had arranged in the Empire of Qin. The Empire of Qin was powerful, and the crown prince of the Empire of Qin was born to be the emperor. It was almost unshakable. If Feng Wan wanted to unify the 4 dynasties, she had to do something to him. Therefore, she found Imo Chinxian and helped him fight for the throne with Ma Chenyi in the name of the Heavenly Doctor. Feng Wan used her art of seizing fate on Imo Chinxian and Ma Chenyi, so that Imo Chinxian, who had almost no bloodline power, could constantly absorb Ma Chenyi's dragon-shaped fate to grow. Until now, he was the king of martial arts in the Empire of Qin and could compete with Ma Chenyi, the crown prince. This art of seizing fate was something that Feng Wan could barely do by using her special pupils and the bloodline power of the Great Yong royal family. When she was in Great Yong's imperial family, she had relied on this to suck dry the bloodline power and power of providence of those who had the ability to be her opponents. That was how she had achieved her current status as Great Yong's #1 imperial princess. In the whole Great Yong, except for her, there was no one else with such outstanding ability, because the bloodline power and the power of providence of those people had all been absorbed by her. Because of this, she became a stunning talent. Now, she was using the same technique to help Imo Chinxian absorb Ma Chenyi's fate and bloodline power. She did not believe that anyone could see through it and break it. After all, even a transcendent sage wouldn't be able to see through it. Of course, if one's strength was far above this, it was very likely that one would be able to see it clearly. For example, Underworld Paragon. Thinking of Yi Qianxian, Feng Wan's heart was filled with an indescribable love and hatred. She hated that this man didn't even look at her. Otherwise, he would definitely discover that he was more suitable for him than the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She loved this man's peerless handsomeness and shocking strength. The Empire of Qin, this time, I will not let it go. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, Luo Qingtong, just you wait. Once she controlled the Empire of Qin, she would break through to the saint stage. At that time, she would let everyone know who was the most suitable person to stand beside Mingzun. Luo Qingtong did not know of Feng Wan's ambition. She was now wholeheartedly refining the bloodline pill in her hand. Great Yang's fate power entered the cauldron, and a rosy glow shot up to the sky. In an instant, a pill was formed. Luo Qingtong held it in her hand and felt the rich medicinal power surging within. There was even a faint dragon-shaped pattern in it, and he immediately smiled. All right, success. It's time to go back to Great Chu. Luo Qingtong thought of the man in the black field. She didn't know if his anger had completely dissipated. Luo Qingtong really missed Yi Qianxian. Stroking the 9 phoenix ring in her hand, Luo Qingtong smiled wickedly. Maybe it's time to go back and give that man a surprise. Chapter 827. Great Chu, the main city of the Blackfield. Yi Qianxian sat on the seat of honor with a cold expression, handling the documents sent from the main city. The low pressure around him was very cold. That woman left for so many days, and she didn't come back. Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. He thought that after Luo Shaoqi left that day, Luo Qingtong would come back. But he didn't expect that woman to be delayed for so many days, and she didn't come back. With that thought in mind, Yi Qianren's aura grew colder and colder, causing the experts from the Black Domain who were reporting the news from the main city and the other main cities of the Black Domain to feel like crying. The Lord's aura was getting more and more terrifying. They looked at Beiqing and Fengyu for help. The two of them stood behind Yi Qianxian like door gods and turned a blind eye to their gazes. What a joke! Who could cure the Lord's cold aura except for the demonic doctor? Unless the demonic doctor came back immediately and appeared in front of the Lord, they could only accept it obediently. These people were considered good, and they could leave after they finished reporting. The people who followed the Lord were the most miserable, weren't they? Just as the two of them were thinking, they suddenly heard a voice reporting from outside. My lord, the demonic doctor sent you a gift. A gift? Yi Qianren raised his head and looked ahead, only to see 2 experts from the Black region carrying a huge box as they walked in. My lord, this is a gift from the demonic doctor. She asked that only you can open it, one of the Black field experts said respectfully. Yi Qianren's eyes narrowed as she looked at the huge box. She didn't know what that woman was doing. Could it be that this was the wedding gift she had prepared for Old Master Luo and Empress Dowager Yanxi? Could it be that this woman didn't want to come back? Thinking of this, Yi Qianren's brows furrowed tightly. What else did she say? He looked at the 2 Black field experts who carried the box in. The 2 of them shook their heads and said no. Sir Evil Doctor only said that he wanted you to open this box personally. He said that it was a special surprise for you. That woman. Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth. It would be a very special surprise if he opened the box and saw a pile of gifts and a note that the woman was not going to come back. With that thought in mind, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth even harder. That woman. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have let her go. They should have captured him as soon as possible, so that she wouldn't run away without a trace. Yi Qianxian couldn't be blamed for worrying about personal gains and losses. But in this world, Luo Qingtong was the only woman he could not catch no matter how hard he tried. He had a feeling that if he didn't pay attention, the other party would disappear from his life. In the past, Yi Qianxian might not have cared. After all, he did not need another woman in his life. But now, if there was no Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian would definitely go crazy. He looked at the huge box and waved his hand, saying, all of you leave. Yes. The group of powerhouses from the Dark Domain accepted the order and retreated from the hall. Beiqing and Fengyu tactfully left as well. After all, who knew what the evil doctor had given their master? The 2 of them were really scared of being tricked. What if the master exploded again? With that thought, they ran faster than rabbits. They were afraid that their master would change his mind and call them back. Chapter 828. He raised his hand, swoosh. The lid of the box was suddenly lifted. Then, a figure suddenly rushed out from inside. Lala, Yi Qianxian, I'm back. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Luo Qingtong smiled wickedly and hugged the man's neck tightly. Just like when she was still Luo Xiaoqi, she hung on him and looked at the man with smiling eyes. In the next second, she kissed the man on the lips. Yi Qianren stood in the middle of the hall and looked at the young girl who had rushed out of the box with a sweet smile on her face. His eyes were so cold that it was terrifying. In the next second, he grabbed the girl's shoulders and lifted her up. Then, he kissed her deeply. Luo Qingtong raised her head and endured the man's intense plundering. Her hands circled around Yi Qianxian's back and felt the scorching heat under the man's robe. The smile in her eyes was indescribably charming. It seems that the Lord missed me a lot. After the kiss, Luo Qingtong licked her lips that were almost swollen from the kiss. Her tender red tongue brushed past her snow-white teeth and crimson lips. It was indescribably evil and enchanting. This seductress. Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with dark eyes. He suddenly got up and carried the woman in his arms back to the bedroom. However, he had only taken a few steps when he felt a weight in his arms. He looked down and saw Luo Qingtong nestled in his arms. Her head was drooping and leaning on his chest. Her small hands were holding onto his clothes, and she was sleeping soundly. This woman, Yi Qianren fiercely gritted her teeth. However, when her gaze landed on the young girl's sweet sleeping face, her gaze softened. If only you were so obedient. Yi Qianxian snorted. He lowered his head and caressed the girl's pink, petal-like lips for a moment. Then, he strode back to the bedroom with her in his arms. However, the eagerness and passion from before had calmed down. It's good that this woman is back. As for the other matters, there was no hurry. Yi Qianxian didn't want to admit that the moment Luo Qingtong emerged from the box, his heart was violently moved. It was as if a lost treasure had returned to his embrace. This woman had already become an inseparable part of his life. It was just his return, but it already made him so happy that he almost couldn't control himself. However, this woman was completely different from other women. If he wanted to win her heart completely, he couldn't rush it. Luo Qingtong slept soundly. It had been a long time since she had slept so peacefully and without worry. In the past, she would always maintain a certain level of vigilance when she slept. But this time, she really didn't wake up. She completely lost consciousness in Yi Qianxian's arms. Perhaps it was because she subconsciously felt that Yi Qianxian's side was the safest place. No one could hurt her in front of this man. When Luo Qingtong woke up, she didn't know what time it was. The sky outside was slightly dark, so she couldn't tell whether it was evening or early morning. Luo Qingtong woke up with a yawn. She raised her eyes and saw the handsome face of the man beside her. Yi Qianxian's eyes were slightly closed. Under the faint light by the window, his face looked like a god who had fallen to the mortal world. Noble, handsome, otherworldly, exceptional. Chapter 829. However, her face was just close to the man. The latter's tightly shut eyes immediately opened. That pair of eyes that seemed to contain countless swords and blades, incomparably cold and domineering, stared at Luo Qingtong's face. Then, in the next second, those dark sword lights instantly turned into countless flames that were incomparably hot. Bang! Yi Qianxian turned over and got up, pressing Luo Qingtong under his body. Try playing with fire again? The man's voice was indescribably hoarse and deep. Yi Qianxian's eyes were fixed on Luo Qingtong, and there seemed to be countless flames jumping in his eyes. All the blood-red light and sword qi were burned to ashes. It also turned all his coldness into forbearing passion and heat. This woman really had to be taught a lesson. How much self-control did she think she had to be able to keep her composure in the face of his repeated temptations? Luo Qingtong smiled evilly when she heard this, and was about to say something when she put her arms around the man's neck. At this moment, a voice suddenly came in from outside, and the tone was very anxious. Not good. Lord Evil Doctor, quickly go and take a look. Old Master and Empress Dowager Yin Shi are fighting. Suddenly hearing such a sentence, Luo Qingtong almost choked on her own saliva. Grandfather and Empress Dowager Yin Shi? Hadn't their misunderstanding been resolved? How could they fight? Luo Qingtong thought so, and immediately rushed to the Great Chu Imperial Palace. Grandfather. Luo Qingtong rushed to the Empress Dowager's residence and saw Old Master Luo being chased by Empress Dowager Yin Shi with a sword. She immediately stepped forward, stopped Empress Dowager Yin Shi, and asked, "Grandmother, what are you doing? Ask him." Empress Dowager Yin Shi's eyes were red, and she pointed her sword at Old Master Luo. "Luo Tong, you actually hid the matter of Jinghong from me for so long. If I hadn't found out by myself today, were you going to continue hiding it from me?" As soon as she said that, Luo Qingtong immediately knew what was going on. Was it because of her father? Luo Qingtong looked at Old Man Luo, who looked dejected. It's not that I want to hide it from you, but what? Are you afraid that I can't accept the fact that Jinghong is gone? Yes, I can't accept it. Luo Tong, this is how you raised my son for 40 years. You didn't even tell me that he was dead. Not only that, he didn't even set up a memorial tablet for them. Now you still want to continue hiding it from me. Empress Dowager Yin, she was obviously furious. Get lost. I'm not going to hold this wedding. I don't want to see you again. Grandfather Luo panicked when he heard this. Listen to me. I really didn't mean to hide it from you. It's not that I don't want to set up memorial tablets for them. As he spoke, he stomped his foot and gritted his teeth. It's just that they aren't dead yet. Qingtong's parents aren't dead yet. What? Empress Dowager Yin, she was about to leave, but when she heard that, she immediately looked up at Old Master Luo. Luo Qingtong was also surprised. Grandpa, you mean my parents aren't dead? But if that was the case, then why did everyone say that her parents were dead? If it weren't for the fact that the Luo family didn't have a successor, the second branch wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Luo Xining wouldn't have any ideas about her. Jing Huanhuan, no, and the royal family of Tianyu. If it weren't for the death of Luo Qingtong's mother, why would they look down on Luo Qingtong and the Luo family? Chapter 830. AI. Old Master Luo sighed heavily. It's a long story, I didn't want to say it, but AI. He looked at Empress Dowager Yin Shi helplessly. Originally, he wanted to find an opportunity in the future to slowly tell her about it. But Empress Dowager Yin Shi missed her son and went to investigate, which led to today's incident. Old Master Luo sighed even harder as he thought about it. Let's go in and talk. The group of people entered the main hall that was in a mess. Empress Dowager Yin Shi called people to clean up. Now that King Ning was dead, the entire Chu imperial family respected Empress Dowager Yin Shi. When the two fought, no one dared to stop them. When Empress Dowager Yin Shi flew into a rage, all the guards and maids who were responsible for serving the palace were reprimanded and retreated far away. Now that they heard Empress Dowager Yin Shi's summons, they dared to come back and clean up the mess. After everything was cleaned up, Luo Qingtong, Old Master Luo, and Empress Dowager Yin Shi sat together. Old Master Luo told them what happened in the past. Qingtong, your mother isn't an ordinary person. Old Master Luo's words were shocking. You also know that your mother cured UNMO, right? Because of this, the Tianyu imperial family painstakingly begged for you and UNMO to be engaged. At that time, your mother just wanted you to live a better life. That's why she agreed to the Tianyu imperial family's request, but she didn't expect them to be so cruel and unscrupulous. She also didn't expect that your mother and father would leave our Luo family one after another. Old Master Luo sighed. The reason why I told the outside world that your father and mother were dead was because your father told me to. Qingtong, you probably don't know, but your mother was actually an alchemist and an extremely high-level one at that. She wasn't from our sky spill continent. When she and your father returned to the Luo family, her strength was almost exhausted. After having you, she did everything she could to protect you. Not long after she cured UNMO, she received a message from the outside world and left. Your father waited for her in the Luo family. When you were 2 years old, he also left the Luo family, saying that he was going to find her. Before he left, he told me that if he didn't return, I was to tell the outside world that they were dead. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would bring disaster to the Luo family. I wanted to raise Qingtong, so I did as he said. For so many years, there was no news is news. But before your father left, he left behind a jade pendant for you. Old Master Luo continued. He said that the jade pendant is linked to his life. As long as it doesn't break, he'll be fine. As for your mother's peace, it's with you and Ma. Back then, it was left behind as a token of engagement between the two of you. As old Luo took, as Luo said Luo, Qingtong, Luo took Luo. It was a translucent jade pendant. If Yuanma was here, he would realize that this jade pendant was a pair with the one around his neck. The two crescent-shaped jade pendants were connected from head to tail, forming a perfect circle. It Luo Tian, the shape of the blood droplets was perfect. This jade pendant was left to you by your father. It is also your and Yuan Mo's engagement token. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She knew about the engagement token between her and Yuan Mo. She had wanted to wait until her engagement with Yuan Mo was completely annulled before retrieving the engagement token. She didn't think that this engagement token would be the treasure that kept the original owner's mother alive. Chapter 831. However, Yuan Mo didn't want to cancel the engagement no matter what. Was it related to this engagement token? Luo Qingtong thought, then quickly shook her head. It was for no other reason. At that time, Tianyu's imperial family was powerful. After learning that the original owner's mother had gone missing, they immediately turned hostile. From the looks of it, they could break off the engagement first and then hide the engagement token. After all, they had given the engagement token. If they hadn't, then they hadn't. Why would they be afraid of what the Luo clan would say? With how Yuan Mo didn't care about the original owner, he would probably agree with this approach. Therefore, he was determined not to break off the engagement. There should be other reasons. However, no matter what the reason was, it had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. Just like how Yuan Mo didn't care about the original owner, Luo Qingtong was the same. When the time came for the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy, Yuan Mo would calmly accept the fact that the engagement was broken off and hand over the engagement token. Otherwise, he would be in for a good time. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she smiled coldly. At this time, Empress Dowager Yin Shi's voice sounded. Then you don't know where Jing Hong and the others are? Her face was full of worry. Originally, Empress Dowager Yin Shi thought that her beloved son was dead, so she was very angry. Now that her anger was gone, she couldn't help but worry. People outside the realm. Her son was actually related to people outside the realm. No wonder he told Grandfather Luo that they were dead before he left. Her daughter-in-law's identity was extraordinary. Even if she crippled her cultivation to be with her son, she couldn't avoid disaster. That's why she ran away before. Thinking like this, Empress Dowager Yin Shi's heart was filled with unspeakable worry. Luo Qingtong also looked at Grandfather Luo. I only know that he went to find his daughter-in-law. However, his daughter-in-law is from outside the realm. It's not easy for her to leave the continent. I also don't know where Jing Hong is now. How could Grandfather Luo not be worried? However, he had Luo Qingtong to worry about. His son and daughter-in-law had entrusted their granddaughter to him, so he naturally had to take good care of her. Moreover, going to the outer realm wasn't a simple matter. Grandfather Luo didn't know how much his son had been hiding from him, and where was he going to find him? Is there no other way? Luo Qingtong looked at them and asked, Grandfather, don't you have any information about them? People from the outer realms. Even if Luo Qingtong wasn't too familiar with the matters of the Sky Spill continent, she still knew that the other side that Yi Qianxian spoke of was similar to. Old Master Luo's words of beyond the mainland confirmed her suspicions. It turned out that the Sky Spill continent wasn't the entire world. Outside of it, there was an even wider sky and even more experts. Luo Qingtong thought so. Her heart was boiling. I only know that your mother came from a place called Flying Feather. I don't know anything else." Grandpa Luo shook his head. When his daughter-in-law came to the Luo family, other than her medical skills, she had no strength at all. He was afraid of touching her sore spot, so he didn't ask. "I know." At this moment, Empress Dowager Yin Shi's voice sounded. Chapter 832. The Land of the Hidden World. In the main city of the Blackfield, Luo Qingtong frowned as she thought about what Empress Dowager Yin Shi had said. The Land of the Hidden World, even in the Sky Spill continent, was an extremely mysterious and powerful place. There are countless powerful hidden sects there. It is said that there's a realm above the Saint Realm, and the place with the most powerhouses that surpass the Saint Realm is the Land of the Hidden World. The powerhouses there don't often come out, but once they take a liking to you as a disciple, you will be able to step onto the path to heaven. The Yinyu family that you have a relationship with, their young master, Yinyu Ju, was taken in as a disciple by a powerhouse there. Empress Dowager Yin Shi said, "It is said that that is the only place that connects to the outside world. If you want to go to the outside world, you must first go to the Land of the Hidden World." As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she couldn't help but think of Yi Qianxian. If Yi Qianxian and the others came from the outside world, wouldn't they be very clear about the Land of the Hidden World? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she came back to ask Yi Qianxian. However, the man's answer disappointed her. "I didn't come in through the Land of the Hidden World." Yi Qianxian's expression was light. With his strength, if he wanted to enter the Sky Spill continent, why would he need to go through the Land of the Hidden World? Those people in the Hidden World had probably never even met him face to face. "Why are you asking this?" Yi Qianxian looked at her and frowned. "With your current strength, it is not suitable for you to go outside the continent. This woman shouldn't do anything stupid. Only those above the Saint Realm had the qualifications to leave the continent. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to withstand the rich and abundant spiritual energy outside. Naturally, Yi Qianren could protect her and walk around outside. However, it was impossible for him to be by Luo Qingtong's side all the time and protect her from the terrifying spiritual energy pressure from the outside world. Therefore, it was best for Luo Qingtong to cultivate to the Saint Realm before leaving the continent. "Yes." Luo Qingtong nodded. "I know." Hearing the slight nervousness in the man's words, she felt a little amused. Did she look like such a rash person? This man was really nervous about what? However, she didn't know that she had done so many shocking things that Yi Qianxian would inevitably think too much about it. "Yes, wait until your strength increases in the future. There's no hurry." Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened as he gently stroked Luo Qingtong's hair. Is there any other way to get to the hidden world?" Luo Qingtong looked at him and asked. "Yes." Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. Half a year later, the 4 Great Saint Academies will hold a grand meeting to decide the number 1 in the Eastern region. At the same time, you will participate in the 4 regions competition and compete for a spot to enter the hidden world. At that time, the sects in the hidden world will head to the 4 regions to select the disciples they need to replenish their new blood. At that time, it will be the way for people below the Saint Realm to enter the hidden world. Yi Qianxian looked at her and said, "Half a year later?" Luo Qingtong looked at him and blinked. Wasn't that the date agreed upon by the Grand Dean of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? When Luo Qingtong had asked for leave, the Grand Dean had agreed with her that no matter where Luo Qingtong was at that time, she had to rush to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Could it be because of this? If so, then it was no wonder that the Grand Dean insisted that she rush to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin at that time. It turned out that it was to have one more trump card. While Luo Qingtong was thinking about this in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Chapter 833. That voice was filled with anger as it rang out in front of the headmaster of the Grand Qin Sacred Academy. The dean raised his head and saw the figure standing in front of him. He was shocked. "Great Elder, you're back." It was the Great Elder of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. "Humph. If I hadn't come back, I don't know what you and your master would have done to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The great elder of the Saint Academy said angrily. Let me ask you, what's the matter with that student called Luo Qingtong and the group of students she brought with her? It's good enough that some of them can become Xian grade students. Your master even gave them the admission notice of heaven grade students. Isn't this an insult to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? What's more infuriating is that Luo Qingtong. She asked for a leave of half a year to a year. What does she think the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin is? Her family's back garden? She can come and go as she pleases? The great elder of the Saint Academy was furious. When he first heard the news, he couldn't believe it. He didn't believe that the Grand Dean and his disciple would insult the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin like this. He didn't expect it to be true when he came back to the Saint Academy. How can you and your disciple face the past deans and ancestors of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? The great elder of the Saint Academy was extremely angry. Somewhere in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, Yuan Ma was drinking tea with a group of people beside him in a pavilion in the courtyard. Senior brother, that's a good move. A disciple of a big family from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin beside him said indifferently, I've asked the teacher to call the great elder back. With the great elder's temper, he'll definitely be furious about Luo Qingtong's leave of absence. At that time, he can take this opportunity to drive the Ling siblings out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yes. Another person sitting next to the student of the Empire of Qin said, the great elder is a person who upholds the rules of the Empire of Qin. He's very old-fashioned and stubborn. Back then, His Highness King Wu wanted to ask for a leave of absence from the Sacred Academy because of the breakthrough of the dragon energy in his body. It was the first elder who rejected his request. His Highness King Wu is a heaven-defying hero. Even under the suppression of the Crown Prince's true dragon strength, he was still able to rise up in a stunning manner and contend against His Highness. She's highly regarded by the imperial family, and even the great elder didn't give her any face. Now that I heard that Luo Qingtong took so many days off, it would be strange if I wasn't angry. Yes, Ling Tianhan and the rest probably thought that by using Luo Qingtong as a shield, senior brother would have some reservations. But I didn't think that Luo Qingtong was nothing to senior brother. Now that they're involved in Luo Qingtong's matter, it's certain that they'll be driven out of the Sacred Academy together. Otherwise, with Ling Tianhan's talent, we'd have to spend a lot of effort to deal with him. Moreover, we might not be able to drive them out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin laughed as he spoke. He said to Yuan Ma, senior brother, you're still the best. Ha! You're taking drastic measures to solve the problem once and for all. Ling Tianhan and the rest definitely didn't think that senior brother would have such a move. Yuan Ma listened with a faint smile on his face as he drank his tea. However, his eyes couldn't hide the arrogance and coldness in them. He only found out about the agreement between Luo Qingtong and the Grand Principal by chance. Chapter 834. He didn't know how Ling Tianhan and the rest managed to get the Grand Principal to agree to such a thing and grant Luo Qingtong so many days off, but must have something to do with the evil Dr. Ghost Eye behind them. Since that was the case, he would help them to bring forward the deadline. Did they think that he would care about Luo Qingtong? What was that woman to him? She was just a tool to carry out his marriage contract and help him achieve his ambitions. Since she was so stupid to be used, he would just beat her at her own game. He would use her as a breakthrough point to drive Ling Tianhan and the rest out of the Sage Academy. Even if Ling Tianhan was talented, so what if he was driven out of the Sage Academy of the Empire of Qin by the Grand Elder himself? Yuan Ma sneered. Su Jinyue, who was sitting next to him, also looked proud and happy. She had come up with this idea for Yuan Ma. She had wanted to test Yuan Ma's feelings for Luo Qingtong. After all, Yuan Ma had refused to break off the engagement. Su Jinyue admired Yuan Ma and naturally felt uneasy. Now she saw that Yuan Ma didn't care about Luo Qingtong at all and directly used her plan. He didn't care whether Luo Qingtong's future would be ruined after she was driven out of the Sage Academy of the Empire of Qin. Su Jinyue's heart was full of joy. Senior brother really didn't like Luo Qingtong. She thought that the Luo family must have used some despicable means to bind senior brother so that he couldn't break off the engagement. In this way, things would be easy, Su Jinyue thought and smiled proudly and coldly in her heart. After Luo Qingtong was driven out of the Sage Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would ask her parents to take action and let Luo Qingtong know that a man like senior brother couldn't be restrained by the Luo family's means. If she knew what was good for her, she would voluntarily remove the restraints on senior brother and take the initiative to break off the engagement. There would be no more entanglement. Otherwise, Su Jinyue's eyes were full of arrogance and viciousness. Then don't blame her for being rude. Originally, Su Jinyue didn't take Luo Qingtong seriously. After all, how could the legitimate daughter of a marquis of a small inferior country compare to her, Yu Wanma's junior sister, a disciple of the holy court of the Empire of Qin? Even Su Jinyue deliberately asked her parents to give Luo Qingtong a place as a reward for the branch school. He sent Luo Qingtong to Yu Wanma's illustrious Tianyu branch, and let her be abused by those Tianyu branch students who regarded Yu Wanma as a god, a peerless genius. At that time, he would just have to watch the show. Let's see how the first wife's daughter of a marquis from inferior nation who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth would humiliate herself and realize the huge difference between her and Yu Wanma. Who would have thought that the other party would become the #1 disciple of the Tianyu Academy and come to the Empire of Qin Academy? Wasn't that purely to disgust people? No matter how much Su Jinyue disdained Luo Qingtong and looked down on her, she couldn't ignore the fact that the other party was Yu Wanma's fiancé. In particular, the Ling siblings used Luo Qingtong's name to mock her and Yu Wanma every time they saw her. Thinking of this, Su Jinyue's face was full of anger and resentment. However, it didn't matter. Luo Qingtong would soon be expelled from the holy court of the Empire of Qin, together with the Ling siblings. When that time came, he would definitely appear in front of them and taunt them as the victor. Let's see who would have the last laugh. Chapter 835. In the dean's office, the first elder of the Sacred Academy shouted angrily and ordered the dean of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, "Now immediately expel Luo Qingtong and the students from Tianyu branch from the same academy. The Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin can't tolerate such a famous student." Even among the students of Tianyu branch who entered the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin with Luo Qingtong, there were some talented ones. But the rules and dignity of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin couldn't be violated. He would expel all of these students, and no one would be spared. It was a warning to others. No. As soon as the first elder of the Sacred Academy finished speaking, an angry shout came from outside the door. When a Grand Dean received the news that the first elder of the Sacred Academy had come back, he immediately knew that something bad had happened and hurried back. Otherwise, with his stupid disciple's temper, he wouldn't be able to stop the first elder of the Sacred Academy from getting angry. What the hell, Husky? Didn't the first elder of the Sacred Academy travel outside to make a breakthrough? Otherwise, the Grand Dean wouldn't have made an agreement with Luo Qingtong to take a vacation of half a year to a year. The first elder of the Sacred Academy was the most stubborn one, and he attached great importance to the rules of the Sacred Academy. The Grand Dean had quarreled with him many times because of these things. Now that he came back to take care of this matter, the Grand Dean suddenly had a headache. But even so, the Grand Dean couldn't give up Luo Qingtong. What a joke. She was the trump card that he had worked so hard to get. Not to mention other things, with Luo Qingtong's identity and strength as the evil Dr. Ghost Eyes, who could compete with her in the entire pharmaceutical academy. The only one with potential, Su Xiao, was cultivated by Luo Qingtong himself. What's more, Luo Qingtong was also an alchemist. What was an alchemist? as long as Luo Qingtong was in charge of the Pharmaceutical Academy of the Sacred Academy. Basically, no one in the Eastern region or even the four regions could be her match. That was an ironclad victory. Now the first elder of the Sacred Academy wanted to expel her. The Grand Dean wouldn't do it even if he was beaten to death. What's more, the Grand Dean had secretly inquired about what Luo Qingtong had done in the imperial palace of the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty. Luo Qingtong completely crushed Princess Feng Yuan's strength and talent at the same cultivation level. If he wanted to push Luo Qingtong out of the Saint Academy, he would be a huge fool. Luo Qingtong's Strength Academies? The first elder of the Sacred Academy. The rules of the Sacred Academy's rules is rules. However, as long as the student has sufficient strength and talent, and it doesn't affect their own cultivation, then what's wrong with taking some leave? The first elder of the Sacred Academy interrupted the Grand Dean angrily. Zhu Yi, you are twisting words and forcing logic. The first elder of the Sacred Academy was furious. He slammed his palm on the desk in front of him, splitting the extremely hard desk into two halves in an instant. He said angrily, there was a precedent of this in the Sacred Academy. It was above the legendary Dean. That legendary Dean's strength was unparalleled. He was the strongest in the history of the Sacred Academy. No one could compare to him. When he was a student, he once took a year's leave. His strength rose from the initial Martial King realm to the peak of the Martial King realm, close to the Martial Royal realm. His strength growth was unparalleled. He didn't lose to the top heaven-grade students of the Sacred Academy. Later, he won the title of Sacred Seed. Chapter 836. The first elder of the Saint Academy sneered, "Don't say I'm heartless. 3 days later, it'll be a 3-month holiday. As long as Luo Qingtong can come back in time and improve her strength by a small level." According to her information, she was at the medium level of the Martial King realm, right? It's ridiculous that a small branch dares to claim that it has such a strong student. The first elder of the Saint Academy sneered and squinted at the highest dean. She was certain that the latter had done something so that the student named Luo Qingtong could have the right to apply for leave. Unfortunately, the highest dean would soon reveal his true colors in front of him. I don't want her to improve her strength too much. As long as she can reach the high level of the Martial King realm, I'll admit that her leave is valid. Otherwise, I'll kick her and the group of people around her out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin doesn't accept students who are opportunistic and don't want to learn. They only know how to rely on connections. The first elder of the Saint Academy left the dean's office angrily. Looking at the first elder's back, the dean of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin looked at the highest dean. What do you think? The highest dean was having a headache. He was not afraid that Luo Qingtong's strength could not meet the requirements of the first elder of the Saint Academy. It was known that the girl had taken the opportunity to break through to the Martial Royal realm when she was fighting with Princess Feng Yuan in the imperial palace of the Chu Sacred Dynasty. Otherwise, how could the highest dean be so confident to argue with the first elder of the Saint Academy? Of course, he was confident that Luo Qingtong's strength would shock everyone when she came back. At that time, the highest dean could not blame him for granting her so many days of leave. But speaking of which, that girl was really too abnormal. When the highest dean granted Luo Qingtong the days of leave, he did not expect that her strength would improve so rapidly. She improved much faster than those heaven-grade students in the Saint Academy. It would save him the trouble of explaining these vacations in the future. However, he didn't expect that the first elder of the Saint Academy would come back at this time. Moreover, he had been back for a long time. He was furious about Luo Qingtong's leave. It was as if someone had specifically told him about this matter and called him back to make things difficult for him. What made the Grand Dean even more worried was that he didn't know how to contact Luo Qingtong. Would it be more convenient to send the message to Blackfield or to the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty? 3 days was enough to drive someone to death. The first elder of the Sacred Academy didn't want Luo Qingtong to come back at all, so he put forward such a condition. Furthermore, the reason why he said that he wanted to raise his strength was just to diss the Grand Principal and embarrass the latter. He never thought that Luo Qingtong would be able to come back in time, in 3 days, unless Luo Qingtong had the best spiritual ship or happened to be near the holy capital of the Empire of Qin. She would never be able to rush back to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in time. However, if Luo Qingtong was near the holy capital of the Empire of Qin, would she still need to ask for leave? As for the best spiritual ship, it was even more impossible. With her identity as the legitimate daughter of a low-level marquis, it was already a great thing to have a profound-level ship. She might not even have one, not to mention a supreme-grade flying boat. The first elder of the Sacred Academy didn't have one himself. How could that student named Luo Qingtong have one? The first elder of the Sacred Academy thought so and was sure that Luo Qingtong would be expelled in 3 days. At that time, even their group of students would be expelled. Chapter 837. Immediately send this news to the Blackfield. The Grand Principal thought about it and still felt that it was safer to send it to the Blackfield. With the importance that the Blackfield's Ming Zun attached to that girl, even if that girl ran to some unknown place, the chances of him being able to contact her were higher than ordinary people. Although according to the general situation, Luo Qingtong should be in Great Chu at this time. But that girl never played by the rules. The Grand Principal had a headache thinking about it. That girl had better not run off to some unknown place at this time. Otherwise, she would not be able to make it back in time. At that time, it would be troublesome. At the same time, he immediately began to investigate the matter of the great elder of the Holy Court to see who had invited this great Buddha back to slap his face. In the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty, Luo Qingtong still did not know about this. The preparations for Grandfather Luo and Empress Dowager Yan Shi's wedding were almost done. This time, it was the Empress Dowager's remarriage. Although she had obtained the consent of the Great Chu imperial family and that transcendent saint, it was not a particularly glorious thing. For the sake of the Great Chu imperial family's face, Empress Dowager Yan Shi's wedding was not wantonly arranged. The guests invited were also limited to the major forces and families of the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty. But all the guests who received the invitation were jubilant. Not for anything else, but this time, the Blackfield's Ming Zun had confirmed that he would come to Empress Dowager Yan Shi's wedding. And the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who was popular in the Blackfield and even in the 4 great sacred dynasties, also said that he would bring gifts to congratulate. Who knew how many people were secretly happy to be able to see these 2 great Buddhas in their lifetime? Especially the Blackfield's Ming Zun. His power was boundless and his strength was at the peak of perfection, unparalleled. He had single-handedly established the Blackfield, causing the 4 great sacred dynasties to have no choice but to retreat. With such honor, ordinary people would be honored to even hear his name, let alone be able to see him. In the Eastern domain, those who could see him were all formidable and peerless existences. Only the absolute powerhouses of the Saint Plain would be able to meet him. Now that he said that he would attend Empress Dowager Yan Shi's wedding, it naturally attracted people like a flock of ducks. Even if this wedding did not invite everyone, it was already the center of attention. The eyes of the 4 sacred dynasties were all focused on the wedding, not to mention the other 3 regions. Rumble. Countless cannon salutes sounded all around the Chu dynasty's sacred capital. Amidst the waves of cannon salutes, one spirit boat after another poured into the holy capital from all directions. Countless cannons were fired, and on those spirit ships, experts from various forces stood with their hands behind their backs, surrounded by congratulatory gifts. Flags fluttered in the air, seeing the name of the faction embroidered on it. The surrounding crowd exclaimed from time to time. Each and every one of them was a famous power within the borders of Great Chu, and even outside of Great Chu. Some of the superpowers that didn't receive an invitation also sent congratulatory gifts to congratulate Ming Zun after learning that he was going to attend the wedding. This was the deterrence that Yi Qianming, a Blackfield Dark Lord, possessed in the true Spill continent. Just a single name, a single sentence, was enough to shake the entire true Spill continent. After receiving the invitation from Old Man Luo, everyone from the Feng family came to the Chu dynasty's sacred capital. Seeing such a lively scene around them and confirming Old Man Luo's name again and again, the group still felt as if they were in a dream. Chapter 838. A daughter should be like Luo Qingtong. The Luo family's Qingtong is a natural dragon. The Luo family's old master sighed. Yes, the Luo family's people also sighed. A year ago, who would have thought that the Luo family and Luo family's old master would have such good fortune? Luo Qingtong's rise had really changed their fate and the Luo family's fate. The Luo family's people rushed to the Chu palace. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the side of the road. Luo Miao Miao. With this voice, the Luo family's people immediately looked to the side. With this look, their faces immediately turned cold. They saw a young man in a luxurious robe looking at them in surprise. Then his brows furrowed. He looked at the Luo family's people and said very impolitely, "Why are you here? This is the holy capital of Chu, not a place you can come." The man's expression was very impatient. "I don't know how you found your way here, but I already said before that Luo Miao Miao and I were just playing. With my status, how can a trash family like your Luo family be worthy of me? Don't think that you can do anything just because you found your way here. As long as I want, your Luo family can forget about leaving the holy capital of Chu." The man's expression was very arrogant. The Luo family's people were furious when they heard this. This was a scumbag who had once deceived Luo Miao Miao. Back then, after swearing an oath of eternal love and deceiving Luo Miao Miao with flowery words, he lost her in the blink of an eye. He even said in public that he was just playing with Luo Miao Miao. How could the latter's status be worthy of him? Luo Miao Miao was Luo Howren's cousin. Because of this, she almost killed herself. Who would have thought that the lover she loved so much was such a disgusting person? And because of this, she brought so much humiliation and disgust to the Luo family. When Luo Miao Miao was with him, she didn't know his identity at all, let alone who he was. She fell for him just because of her passion. Who knew that he was such a person? "All right, you Luo family's people, hurry up and get lost. Don't disturb us going to the wedding banquet. If you dare to cause trouble, I won't let you out of the holy capital." The man scolded the family. "What right do you have to tell us to scram? We are also here to attend the wedding banquet." The Si family members were furious, especially Si Miao Miao, who was at the end of her patience. "Huh." The man looked at them and said with contempt, "You want to attend the wedding banquet in the palace? Ran Miao Miao, are you deliberately trying to cause trouble?" As he spoke, a middle-aged man who was obviously the head of his family walked over. After hearing what happened here, he immediately frowned and said coldly, "What's the point of telling them so much? Just break his legs and throw him out. Don't you know where you are? What kind of family do you think our whole clan is? How dare you cause trouble here?" As he spoke, he scolded the man, "And you, stop fooling around outside all day long. You want all kind of trash. Don't you find trash from an inferior country dirty?" When he said that, everyone from the Sea clan was so angry that their faces turned pale. They almost wanted to fight with their lives on the line. At this moment, a group of Hua family guards also surrounded them. All of them were emitting the aura of martial emperors. They looked at the Chu clan members as if they were looking at a bunch of corpses. Chapter 839. Grandpa Si, uncles, why are you here? Luo Qingtong was dressed in red, like a fiery red lotus, standing behind the Si family. She had just come out of the Chu imperial palace. She saw the Si family surrounded by the Hua family's guards and immediately walked over. "Luo girl." Seeing Luo Qingtong, the Si family's faces were filled with joy. especially the old master of the Sea family. He was so excited that he couldn't speak. Sister Qingtong. When the Sea family juniors saw Luo Qingtong, it was as if they saw their savior. The Hua family had gone too far. Relying on the fact that they were a large family in the holy capital, not only did they toy with Sea Miao Miao's feelings, but they also wanted to drive them out of the holy capital. Why? They were also here to attend the Imperial Palace's banquet. Even if they weren't, the Hua family couldn't be so overbearing and domineering. Sister Qingtong, they bullied us and wanted to break our legs and drive us out of the holy capital. The Sea family's juniors didn't know Luo Qingtong's true identity, but it was true that Old Master Luo had become the Grand Duke of the Chu Imperial Palace. Luo Qingtong's status was definitely not low, and she definitely had a certain amount of prestige in the Chu Imperial Palace. They didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be able to do anything to the Hua family, but it would be good enough if she could save them from the humiliation at this moment. The Hua family had really gone too far. They gritted their teeth and recounted what had just happened. Hearing that the other party had cheated on Sea Miao Miao's feelings and was afraid that they would cause trouble and wanted to break their legs and throw them out of the Chu Imperial Palace, Luo Qingtong immediately raised her eyebrows. The Hua family? Yes. The Hua family's manager had a face full of pride. When Luo Qingtong appeared just now, he was afraid that they had provoked a disciple of a large faction in the holy capital. Now it seemed that he had no impression of her age and appearance, so she couldn't be a disciple of a large faction in the Chu Imperial Palace. Then she must be from outside, and those factions outside of the Chu that were qualified to send congratulatory gifts were all super factions, and the envoys they sent were mostly Saint Realm experts. This girl definitely couldn't be one of them. They must be from other commanderies and cities of Great Chu. At the thought of this, the Hua clan's head laughed disdainfully. Those outside might be powerful in their commandery, but in front of the forces of the holy capital, they were nothing, especially when their Hua family was following Empress Dowager Yin Shi. However, the fact that the Ji family was able to find the holy capital was very likely due to the help of the power behind this young girl. What's more, they wanted to use my family to achieve something. Unfortunately, he wouldn't let them have their way. With this thought in mind, the Hua clan's leader looked at Luo Qingtong with even more disdain and coldness. I don't care what your intentions are. Get out of my sight right now. The disciples of the Hua clan of the holy capital aren't people you can associate with. As soon as he finished speaking, before Luo Qingtong could say anything, the Hua clan disciple next to him looked at Luo Qingtong with a covetous gaze and said, "Of course, if Miss is willing to be with me, it's not a big deal even if I take you and Ji Miao Miao in as my concubine." The Hua clan disciple looked at Luo Qingtong with shining eyes. The latter's face was absolutely beautiful, her temperament languid and domineering, charming and seductive, making his heart itch. If she was willing to be with him, so what if he took Ji Miao Miao in as a concubine? Chapter 840. Oh, Luo Qingtong looked at the Hua family disciple with a faint smile. What if I don't want to? Then we may not let you go today. The Hua family disciple had obviously been bewitched by the faint smile on Luo Qingtong's face. She was just a disciple of a foreign force. So what if she was from a certain commandery's royal family? Who didn't know about the slightly powerful commandery's royal family and disciples of forces in the Great Chu sacred dynasty? Among them, there was absolutely no figure of this girl. Immediately, the Hua family disciple became lustful. In any case, the holy capital of the Chu dynasty was their territory. Even if they took the girl by force, who could do anything to them? The Hua family disciple said, looking at Luo Qingtong with more and more lustful eyes. The Hua family's manager watched from the side and didn't make a sound. She was just a girl. So what if his nephew played with her? Anyway, with their status in the holy capital, not many forces dared to do anything to them. Shameless. Seeing that the Hua family people were still thinking about Luo Qingtong, the Ran family people became anxious. Do you know who she is? You dare to have ideas about her. Especially Ran Miao Miao, who was even more furious. She couldn't imagine that the person she had taken a fancy to was such a disgusting and immoral person. I don't care who she is. Our Hua family is the followers of Empress Dowager Yin Shi. We are the family under Empress Dowager Yin Shi. Now that Empress Dowager Yin and Empress Dowager Yin are married, the latter has the black field behind her. You know the black field, right? There is no one I can't provoke. The disciple of the Hua clan laughed out loud. The Hua family manager also sneered at the side. The Hua family guards around them roared with laughter. With the Hua family's power behind Empress Dowager Yin Shi, as long as the latter didn't fall, what did their Hua family have to be afraid of? Ram Yao Miao's words were simply ridiculous. She probably didn't know what a big family in the holy capital meant. Hearing his words, the Ran family people's faces turned pale. The Hua family was the family behind Empress Dowager Yin Shi. With Empress Dowager Yin Shi's support, in that case, wouldn't they be in trouble? Even Luo Qingtong couldn't stop them. After all, she was only old Master Luo's granddaughter. Even if she recognized Empress Dowager Yin Shi as her grandmother, she might not be able to compare to the Hua family. Thinking of this, the Feng family panicked. They didn't know Luo Qingtong's true identity and only thought that they had implicated Luo Qingtong, so they hurriedly said, "Qingtong, leave now. Hua clan, you're shameless. This is between the Si family and the Hua family. Don't drag others into this." I told you to scram, but you didn't. Now all of you can stay here. The Hua clan's disciple sneered and looked at Luo Qingtong with an evil gaze. "Men," he said proudly, "invite this young lady into the Hua family. When I return from the banquet, I will reward you handsomely." A group of Hua family guards obeyed the order and approached Luo Qingtong maliciously. The latter's expression was indifferent as she stood there without moving. "I was still thinking about how to deal with you. Now, I don't need to think about it anymore." Luo Qingtong looked coldly at the group of Hua family people in front of her. "The Hua family doesn't need to stay." The Hua family disciple heard this and laughed even more wildly. "You said the Hua family doesn't need to stay? Little girl, who do you think you are?" As soon as he finished speaking, a voice suddenly cried out in surprise. Chapter 841. Your Highness. Following this voice, a group of people suddenly walked out from behind Luo Qingtong. These people had a vast and ethereal aura. Almost every one of them was above the saint realm. The aura around them was constantly in harmony with the spiritual energy in the surrounding air. What was even more shocking was that they were wearing the uniforms of the officials. "Your Highness, what are you doing here?" The court official of the Chu sacred dynasty who spoke first looked at Luo Qingtong, who was surrounded by the Hua family with the Chu family. He hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. "The Empress Dowager's wedding ceremony is about to begin. Why aren't you accompanying Empress Dowager at this time? And what's going on? You are from the Hua family?" The court official looked at the Hua family who were confronting Luo Qingtong and the others in surprise. The latter and the others' faces were already numb. "Your Highness, the Empress Dowager." Empress Dowager. This court official didn't say much, but he clearly explained Luo Qingtong's identity. Other than that young girl who had saved the Great Chu from collapse, thwarted Great Yang's conspiracy, and preserved the Great Chu's throne, who else would be worthy of the respectful salute and the greeting of Your Imperial Highness by the Great Chu imperial family's transcendent sage? There were many princesses in the world, but there was only one person in the entire Chu who could make the court officials bow and bend their knees and call her Your Highness. That was Princess Shengning. She was the holy conferred princess. The faces of the Hua family members instantly turned green. As for the Hua family disciple who was still laughing wildly and asking who Luo Qingtong was and how she dared to say that the Hua family couldn't keep her, he was so shocked that he was speechless, as though his neck was being strangled. His throat made a sound like a rusty machine, and he looked at Luo Qingtong with extreme shock. His face was completely frozen in place. This girl was the holy conferred princess? The holy conferred princess? That Hua clan disciple, who had been incomparably arrogant just a moment ago, was now like a chicken that had its neck choked. The Hua family member who had been watching from the side, with a faint sneer on his face, and didn't take Luo Qingtong's words seriously also changed his expression. How was this possible? This young girl was actually the legendary princess. The Hua family member's forehead instantly broke out in a cold sweat, almost wetting his hair. He thought of the words that the Hua family member had just said to Luo Qingtong and almost fainted in an instant. My God, what did the Hua family members do? They wanted to capture the holy conferred princess and make her the exclusive property of the Hua family members. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's words, just a moment ago, they had treated this sentence as a joke. At this moment, who would treat Luo Qingtong's words as a joke? How is this possible? The Hua family member trembled and said, "The holy conferred princess is so respected. How can she be with such a group of low-level countries?" When he said this, his voice suddenly stopped abruptly. He remembered when Tai Yao and Princess Shengning entered the holy city to propose. They did say that they were from the Luo family of Dongli country. But in the end, the miracle created by Luo Qingtong and Luo Qingtong was amazing. Everyone only remembered the black field behind them and their powerful strength and talent. They forgot where they were from. Princess Shengning was indeed from Dongli country, and the Chu family was also from Dongli country. Chapter 842. That Hua family disciple had already collapsed to the ground, his face filled with indescribable fear and despair. How could he have thought that he would bump into Luo Qingtong, who he could not provoke, when he was just casually bullying a family from a low-level country? Who would have thought that the Rand family, a weak family that he had played with and abandoned, would have Luo Qingtong as their backing? If he had known, he would never have done anything to the Rand family. He would never have had any thoughts about Luo Qingtong, let alone speak rudely to her. He even wanted to worship the Rand family. To be able to be invited to the wedding banquet, the Rand family and the Luo family must have a close relationship. If he had treated Ram Miao Miao well and not humiliated them to death, he might have been able to enter the Hua family and soar to the top. Thinking of this, that Hua family disciple's face was filled with fear, despair, and remorse. Needless to say, the Hua family leader beside him had already knelt on the ground, kowtowing desperately to Luo Qingtong as he begged for mercy. "Your Highness, we have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please spare our lives. Please spare our lives." Behind that Hua family leader was a group of guards who were just about to capture Luo Qingtong back to the Hua family and make her into the Hua family's exclusive property. At this moment, these people's faces were filled with fear and despair. Their bodies were trembling like rice grains, and each one of them knelt on the ground to beg for mercy, almost knocking their foreheads to the point of bleeding. "Your Hua family is powerful. I can't afford to offend you." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and she had already released the strength she was about to use. If these officials hadn't come just now, these Hua family members would be dead meat. But now that they were here, there was naturally a better way to deal with these people. Delusional of wanting to control me and make me into the Hua family's exclusive property, your Hua family is very bold. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Hearing her words, the officials in front of her froze. The Hua family was too bold. Anyone who insults the princess will die. Moreover, Luo Qingtong was not an ordinary princess. Behind her was Empress Dowager Yin, Shi, and Blackfield. These people from the Hua clan were really courting death. "Princess, Princess, we didn't know it was you." Everyone from the Hua clan wailed. Their hearts were filled with regret and despair. They hated the troublemaker to the core. If he hadn't tried to hurt Luo Qingtong, the Hua family wouldn't have ended up like this. Humiliating the Si family and humiliating the princess were two completely different crimes. The former could still be saved. The latter could not be saved. "Your Highness, Your Highness." The members of the Hua clan howled in grief, but Luo Qingtong ignored them completely. She directly said to the ministers beside her, "From today onwards, the holy capital will no longer have the Hua clan. Just because they didn't know who she was, they could bully her as they pleased? What if she didn't have her current status today? What if she wasn't strong enough to go against the whole family? Was he going to let them bully and humiliate him? Just saying that they didn't know was enough? Then if she destroyed the whole family, she could still say that she was careless and heavy-handed. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, but when she looked at the C family, they became gentle. She still remembered how the C family desperately tried to delay the whole family and let her leave. Grandfather C, this time you came to the holy capital, don't leave. The whole family's property will all be inherited by you. All members of the whole family will be your slaves. Chapter 843. This was the first time Luo Qingtong had used her status as Chu's princess to oppress people. Other than the cries and wails of the whole clan, the ministers of Chu who came together did not make a sound. The dignity of a princess could not be insulted. That was the title of a princess with the word saint in her name. She was the one who inherited the destiny of a nation. Insulting Luo Qingtong was the same as insulting Chu. Luo Qingtong only destroyed the whole clan and did not kill them, which was already a great kindness. As for the disposal of the whole clan, it was all Luo Qingtong's decision. If she wanted to give the whole clan to others, no one could say anything. It was just that in just one day, the power structure of the holy capital had changed again, which was really beyond everyone's expectations. The people of the Ran clan felt like they were in a dream. They were just being humiliated like ants in front of the whole clan. That scumbag who cheated and abandoned Ran Meow Meow even wanted to break their legs and throw them out of Chu's holy capital in front of everyone. Now, the people of the whole clan were kneeling in front of them, wailing and begging for mercy, and were about to become their slaves. And they had also jumped from a weak family from Eastern Fence to a big family in Chu's holy capital. The whole clan of Holy Capital would become the Ran clan of Holy Capital in the future. This series of rapid changes all came from Luo Qingtong. In front of them was a beautiful and graceful girl. Her Highness the Princess. Luo Qingtong was actually a princess of Chu. Looking at the situation, she was not an ordinary princess. Even the ministers of the Holy Capital had to respect her. And the whole clan of Holy Capital, a big family that was incomparably confident and arrogant, could be destroyed with a word from Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong, what did she do in Chu? How could she have such honor? Luo clan's girl. Old Master Rant's lips twitched. Before he could speak, Luo Qingtong spoke with a smile. Grandpa Ran, you can stay here at ease. You could be my grandfather's companion. He only has you as an old friend. And the Holy Capital has far more resources than the Eastern Hedge. For the sake of the Feng family's future, don't refuse. As for the rest, you don't have to worry so much. Luo Qingtong understood Grandfather Rant's concerns. He was afraid that if they suddenly appeared in the Holy Capital and replaced the whole clan, they would attract a backlash from the other powers. It would be disadvantageous to her, grandfather, in them. But he didn't know that Empress Dowager Yin Shi was her grandmother. Old Master Luo didn't just want to marry Empress Dowager Yin Shi. With the two of them, the Feng family was as stable as Mount Tai and Holy Capital. No one would find trouble with them, let alone attack her and her grandfather. Empress Dowager Yin Shi would not let such a thing happen. After all, that was the iron-blooded and lofty Empress Dowager Yin Shi who was the regent for a dynasty. Thinking of her grandparents, Luo Qingtong smiled. With Luo Qingtong's persuasion, Grandpa Luo no longer insisted. After all, if he wasn't afraid of implicating Luo Qingtong and Grandpa Luo, he wouldn't refuse at all. The whole clan of the Holy Capital, how much resources was that? It was enough to transform the Feng family from the inside out. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong had left many experts of the whole clan as servants. With the great Chu sacred dynasty's methods, how could they be afraid of a rebellion? This was really like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Grandpa Luo was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He swore in his heart that from now on, the Feng and Luo clans would live and die together. Chapter 844. Luo Qingtong didn't think too much about it. In the beginning, she only wanted to keep the Luo family in the holy capital to accompany Grandfather Luo. After all, Grandfather Luo didn't have many old friends, and the Luo family was the only one left. Since the Hua family had jumped out to court death, she would naturally fulfill their wish and save the trouble of making arrangements for the Luo family. After clarifying the Hua family's matter, Luo Qingtong leaped and appeared in a remote area outside the holy capital of Great Chu. Now it's time for me to give Grandpa and the others a gift. Luo Qingtong smiled and raised her hand to release her spirit ship. With Luo Qingtong's current status, she could naturally get a better spirit ship. However, Luo Qingtong was already used to this spirit ship. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had drawn many inscription patterns and formations on this spirit ship. Although it looked like an Earth-level spirit ship, in fact, its various functions even surpassed a heaven-level ship. In some aspects, even a heaven-level spirit ship couldn't do it. Therefore, Luo Qingtong didn't change her ship. Let's go. Let's go give Grandpa and Grandma some gifts. After a little disguise, Luo Qingtong put on the sinister and terrifying Rakshasa mask. As a Rakshasa mask was fastened on her face, Luo Qingtong instantly turned into the evil and domineering youth. Evil Dr. Ghost Pupil. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong's figure leaped up. Little Pig jumped out of her sleeve with a big red flower hanging in front of his chest. The whole pig was happy. Let's go. Let's go give the gifts. Little Pig jumped onto the spirit ship, and Luo Qingtong waved her hand. Numerous jade bottles and gift boxes flew out from the ring in her hand like an ocean. In an instant, the entire surface of the spirit ship was covered with jade bottles and gift boxes. If someone knew that these jade bottles were filled with medicinal pills, who knew how many people would be frightened? In the true Spill continent, an alchemist wouldn't easily appear. Only an alchemy grandmaster would be able to come up with something as extravagant as Luo Qingtong. So many medicinal pills as a gift to congratulate a newcomer. The most valuable one was the golden jade and glazed box in Luo Qingtong's hand. Inside was a multicolored radiance that filled the air. It was the bloodline pill, bearing the fate of the Great Yong sacred dynasty and the bloodline power of the seventh prince of Great Yong. Luo Qingtong's slender hands were held in Luo Qingtong's slender hands. Along with the activation of the spirit ship, they flew in the direction of the sacred capital of Great Chu. Yi Qianming also said that he wanted to give a gift. I don't know what he's going to give. Don't be suppressed by me. Luo Qingtong thought so, and the smile on her lips was unusually evil and enchanting. There weren't many opportunities to suppress that man. Thinking about it, she was quite excited. Of course, if she could openly suppress that man with her own strength, she would be even more excited. Thinking so, Luo Qingtong suddenly licked her lips. Let's go. The spirit ship flew to somewhere outside the main gate of the sacred capital of Great Chu. There are already people from the Black Field waiting there. Following Luo Qingtong's order, the group immediately steered the flying boat and flew towards the holy capital of the Great Chu dynasty. Boom, boom, boom. In the imperial palace of Great Chu, seeing Luo Qingtong's fleet coming in and seeing the evil character hanging high above, 12 saluting cannons shot into the sky from all directions of the imperial palace of Great Chu. Chapter 845. In the Great Chu Imperial Palace, Empress Dowager Yin, she, and Old Master Luo were receiving guests from various forces. Old Master Luo had never been as glorious and happy as he was today. Not only had he married his lover and fulfilled the regret of so many years, he was even able to stand in the Great Chu dynasty's imperial palace and invite guests from all over to congratulate him. All of this was something he had never dreamed of before. After knowing that Empress Dowager Yin, she had become the Empress Dowager of Great Chu, Old Master Luo only had one wish, and that was to be able to accompany her by her side. It didn't matter how he lived, whether he lived as an enemy or as a eunuch. Even if he was tortured and resented, it was fine as long as he could be by her side. At that time, how could he have thought that he would be able to marry her in the end? And all of this was thanks to Luo Qingtong. At this moment, after old Master Luo was busy, he suddenly discovered that Luo Qingtong, who was originally by his side, had disappeared. Strange, where did that girl Qingtong go? Old Master Luo was about to send someone to look for Luo Qingtong when he suddenly heard a clamor outside. This clamor, even at this moment when guests were coming and going, was so clear. Just as old Master Luo was wondering who could make these guests so surprised, he heard the sound of 12 firecrackers above the imperial palace. In an instant, boom, boom, boom. Amidst the violent rumbling, the voices of the great Chu imperial palace's guards rang out. "Welcome, Your Excellency, evil Dr. Ghost Eye." Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? That magnificent youth who rose from the Blackfield's easternly country's branch city and shook the world in just a few months, shocking the 4 great sacred dynasties and the entire eastern region. Everyone's eyes were focused on the entrance of the great Chu imperial palace, wanting to see the elegant demeanor of this world-shaking youth. Old Master Luo was stunned, not knowing what his granddaughter was going to do. While he was in a daze, Empress Dowager Yanxi had already hurried over. "Let's go, Luo Tong. Let's go welcome the guests." Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's name was like thunder in the 4 great sacred dynasties. With his medical skills and alchemy skills, as well as his status in the Blackfield, he was already worthy of Empress Dowager Yanxi and grandfather Luo personally going out to welcome him. Not to mention the fact that Elder Luo was able to successfully marry her was all thanks to this evil Dr. Gui Tong. Empress Dowager Yin, she didn't believe that Ming Zun of the Blackfield would help Master Luo and Luo Qingtong for no reason. It must be the work of this evil Dr. Gui Tong. She pulled old Master Luo and quickly walked out of the hall. The latter did not know whether to laugh or cry. Only then did he remember that he had forgotten to tell Empress Dowager Yanxi about Luo Qingtong's identity. The Queen Regent of Great Chu still didn't know that it was her granddaughter who had come. Old Master Luo pulled Empress Dowager Yanxi back. Just as he was about to say something to her, the sound of a flying spirit boat came from the sky. Many airwaves rolled. As everyone retreated, Luo Qingtong's voice was unusually clear and loud. Entrusted by an old friend, evil Dr. Gui Tong has come to deliver a gift. Congratulations to the Empress Dowager of Great Chu and Empress Dowager Yin Shi for your marriage. I wish the two of you a happy and blissful marriage for 100 years and endless blessings, Luo Qingtong said as she waved her hand. Immediately, people from the Blackfield came forward and handed the gift list to the ceremonial official in front of the Great Chu Imperial Palace. Chapter 846. Oh my God! Seeing the contents of the gift list, especially the last one, which was the most important. The chanting officer's hand trembled, and he almost dropped the gift list in his hand. He tried to calm his mind and began to sing the gift list sent by Luo Qingtong. 100 bottles of mind-clearing elixir, 100 bottles of spirit-condensing elixir, 100 bottles of spirit-understanding elixir. The contents of the gift list were sung one after another, and the chanting officer's face became more and more excited. His voice became louder and louder. Even with the Chu Sacred Dynasty's deep foundation, they were shocked and excited by the pills and resources that Luo Qingtong had sent over. It was not because of anything else. It was because these elixirs were extremely precious. Even if the great Chu royal family had some resources, it was almost the same as what Luo Qingtong had sent. In other words, Luo Qingtong's gift list was almost the same as the collection of the great Chu Sacred Dynasty's royal family for so many years. Of course, this was talking about elixirs. The people around were also stunned. So many elixirs and resources. The evil Dr. Ghost, I was too generous. It was said that the Luo family was very likely to be related to him, so Blackfield and Mingzun would make a move. They did not expect it to be true, and the resources revealed by the evil Dr. Ghost were also very frightening. The elixirs and resources revealed by her alone were almost the same as the resources of a sacred dynasty. She was comparable to a country alone, not to mention that she had the support of a huge monster like the Blackfield behind her. Just as the people were shocked, they heard the chanting officer's voice suddenly tremble. Then the voice suddenly became incomparably sharp, as if to pierce the sky and go straight to the clouds. Bloodline Elixir 1. Bloodline Elixir? What bloodline elixir? When the people heard this, they were all stunned. They had never heard of the bloodline elixir. What kind of elixir was that? Hearing the name, could it be that after taking this elixir, one could still have the power of the bloodline? How is this possible? The people thought so in their hearts, and suddenly could not help but laugh. Only those who had surpassed the saint realm could inherit the power of the bloodline. Moreover, only the 4 royal families of the 4 great sacred dynasties had the ability to pass down the power of the bloodline from generation to generation. Wait a minute. For great sacred dynasties? Bloodline power? As everyone thought this, they immediately thought of Great Yong's 7th prince, who coveted the throne of Great Chu and was killed by grandfather Luo in Great Chu's imperial palace. It was said that after his death, even his corpse was unable to return to Great Yong. It was detained by Luo Qingtong. Could it be? Their gazes were all gathered on Luo Qingtong. The youth's jade-like hands were holding a jade box. That golden jade glass box entered everyone's eyes, causing them to tremble all over. The jade box was filled with multicolored light. Within it, a golden dragon silhouette was faintly discernible. The fate of Great Yong, the power of bloodline. Many people were shocked when they saw the strange phenomenon that appeared in the jade box. The golden dragon silhouette was the symbol and manifestation of the sacred dynasty's fate. The multicolored light was the manifestation of the bloodline power of the sacred dynasty's royal family. The bloodline elixir given by evil Dr. Gui Tong was the power of the bloodline extracted from Great Yong's 7th prince's body. Heavens! Evil Dr. Gui Tong actually had such a method. Chapter 847. Immediately, everyone looked at the young man standing on top of the spirit ship with an indescribable look of respect and fear. Especially those big families who also had bloodline inheritance. Their eyes were filled with indescribable shock as they looked at Luo Qingtong. And even more people looked at the bloodline pill with an indescribable desire in their eyes. This was a bloodline pill condensed from the bloodline power of a Saint Realm expert of the imperial family. After taking it, one would immediately possess the bloodline power of the other party. Whether it was the eruption of strength or cultivation comprehension, they would far surpass ordinary people. And those experts who had limited talent and potential and were already stuck in a certain realm could immediately break through the shackles of their talent and continue to push their strength forward after taking this bloodline pill. With this bloodline pill, as long as one was not as stupid as a pig, they would be able to cultivate to the saint realm in their lifetime. Not to mention that there was a trace of Great Yong's fate in it. With this trace of Great Yong's fate, the fate of one's forces in the future would be much more vigorous than before, and there would be a lot of talents and geniuses. Among the people present, even those big families and forces whose backgrounds were comparable to the imperial family of Great Chu, looked at the bloodline pill with a burning gaze. Old Master Luo and Empress Dowager Yin Shi were pleasantly surprised, especially Old Master Luo, especially Elder Luo. He had never expected that his granddaughter would prepare such a huge gift for him without a word. The bloodline power and a trace of Great Yong's 7th prince's bloodline power. My God! With this bloodline pill, Old Master Luo's position in Great Chu would be as stable as Mount Tai in the future. No one could say that he had climbed the social ladder of Empress Dowager Yin Shi. After all, the merit of saving the throne of Great Chu might be forgotten by people one day. But that trace of Great Yong's fate and the bloodline power of Great Yong's 7th prince could not be forgotten. With this trace of Great Yong's fate and bloodline power, Old Master Luo was worthy of Empress Dowager Yin Shi. Thank you for the gift, evil Dr. Gui Tong. Even though he was very excited, old Master Luo still paid attention to not expose his granddaughter's identity in public. After all, as Luo Qingtong created more and more miracles, her identity became more and more eye-catching. Naturally, Elder Luo could see the danger and glory that this represented. Unless Luo Qingtong announced her identity to the public, Grandfather Luo would never reveal her identity to the public. He wanted to protect his granddaughter well, so that she wouldn't fall into someone else's trap. Seeing Grandfather Luo's thoughts, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly under her Rakshasa mask. Her eyes were full of smiles. So this was her grandfather. It was the greatest warmth she had ever felt since she entered this strange world. "You're too polite." Luo Qingtong jumped down from the spirit boat and handed the golden jade and glazed box to Grandfather Luo. Then, just as she was about to approach Grandfather Luo, a sudden change occurred. "Attack!" Along with this cold shout, a cold voice rang out. Among the surrounding guests, many of them rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Among them, there were many powerhouses from the royal families of powerful commanderies. There were also several Saint Realm experts. Evil Dr. Gui Tongda and that bloodline pill. Snatch it. Chapter 848. Seeing this scene, the eyes of many experts who had come to participate in the wedding banquet flickered. These people were obviously aiming for the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was unknown which power had set them up as pawns in the Great Chu. But the biggest possibility was that they were from Great Yong. After all, it was impossible for the Great Yong royal family to not know that the seventh prince's body had been refined and his bloodline had been extracted. Since they knew, they naturally had to think of a way to snatch it back. These people were probably pawns they had set up in the Great Chu. Using so many pawns and connections at once, Great Yong was probably determined to snatch the bloodline pill back. Not only that, they also wanted to kill Luo Qingtong, a person who dared to refine their royal bloodline, as a warning to others. If the bloodline pill was really snatched away, then these people, would they be able to reap the benefits? Just as they were thinking this, a figure suddenly appeared beside Luo Qingtong with a boom. He held Luo Qingtong's slender waist with one hand and pulled her into his embrace. In the next second, the silver-gray robe embroidered with gold suddenly flicked his sleeve. In an instant, it was as if a dragon was swimming in golden light, illuminating the earth. The power that came out from the man's robe was extremely powerful and domineering. Almost with a flick, those experts who had already rushed to Luo Qingtong with sinister sneers raised their hands to grab the jade box in her hand, or raised their hands to attack her, were all sent flying backwards by the force of this flick. Among them, there were even those Sage Realm experts who had brazenly attacked. They felt that victory was already in their hands this time, and were prepared to kill and snatch the bloodline pill jade box in Luo Qingtong's hand in one blow, before retreating immediately. At that time, they would be free to roam the world. No matter how powerful the Black Field was, they could just find a secluded and desolate mountain range to hide in. As long as they didn't come out, what could they do to them? However, the beauty of their imaginations was completely shattered by the power of the flick. The group of people screamed miserably as they flew backwards at a speed faster than when they were rushing towards Luo Qingtong. Those powerhouses below the Saint Realm were directly sent flying in the air by that blow. They screamed as they turned into ashes. Under the strength of that strike, it was not something they could resist. As for the Sage Realm experts, they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Despite using all their strength, they were still unable to stop themselves from flying backwards. Pooh! Rip! In the sky, the sound of the air being torn apart suddenly resounded. Rumble! The Saint Realm experts were sent flying. They collided with countless people and smashed heavily into the pillars and the ground, causing a series of loud noises and screams. Who gave you the guts to lay your hands on her? Following these tragic cries, an incomparably cold voice came from Luo Qingtong. The man held the young man's waist with one hand and pulled him close to him. The young man's slender figure contrasted sharply with the man's sturdiness. Both of them were dressed in enchanting red clothes, which contrasted well with the cold black clothes. When the enchanting young man and the cold and dignified man stood together, it was as if they were one-on-one. Even though everyone knew that they were the same gender, they couldn't help but feel that the two of them were very compatible. Chapter 849. Seeing this scene, many people exclaimed in low voices. Rumors about Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian had been circulating among the four great sacred dynasties. It was said that Ming Zun had fallen in love with evil Dr. Gui Tong and did not hesitate to put down his status to pursue her. These were originally just rumors. Some people believed it, while others did not. However, at this moment, when everyone saw the two of them standing side by side, they all believed this rumor without prior consultation. Who could be so close to Ming Zun? And looking at how Yi Qianxian was clearly half-hugging Luo Qingtong, everyone felt that the rumors were not exaggerated at all. With Yi Qianren's attitude towards Luo Qingtong, it could be said that he loved her talent. But now that he was hugging her in such an open and ambiguous position, it was obvious that this was not something that could be explained by love. Ming Zun really did have the heart to split the peach with evil Dr. Gui Tong. No wonder this supreme of the Black Field had never been close to any woman for so many years. There were only two people by his side to serve him. Everyone looked at Bei Qing and Feng Yu, who had appeared behind Yi Qianxian. The two of them felt their hair stand on end as everyone looked at them meaningfully. They wanted to cry, but had no tears. Don't look at us like that. There is nothing between us and Master. The only ones who are not innocent are evil Doctor and Master. The two of them screamed crazily in their hearts, but they did not dare to say it out loud. Ming Zun, seeing the silver-robed, black-haired man appear, the dark golden mask on his face shone with a cold golden light under the sunlight. The group of sage state experts who had brazenly attacked Luo Qingtong but were sent flying were extremely shocked. Everyone said that Ming Zun was very strong, but no one knew how strong he was. Only now did they know how strong Yi Qianxian was. They had attacked together to kill Luo Qingtong, but Yi Qianxian had easily resolved it. Not only that, with a casual wave of the other party's hand, they were sent flying without any strength to fight back. Strong, too strong. The hearts of the group of people trembled. Almost instantly, they climbed up from the place where they had been smashed and ran out with all their might. Run, run. The group of people moved like the wind, each of them desperately using their own life-saving secret techniques. They wanted to escape Yi Qianxian's pursuit under such circumstances. However, the man only glanced at them and said coldly, "Bei Qing, Feng Yu." Yes. The two of them stood up and respectfully nodded at Yi Qianxian. "Master, kill them all." Yes. Bei Qing and Feng Yu accepted the order and immediately rushed out. It was only when they made their move that the crowd realized how powerful the two men who had been serving Yi Qianxian were. Bang, bang, bang. Bei Qing's strength was strong and ferocious. Wherever he went, the sage state experts who wanted to escape with their severely injured bodies screamed as they were cut in half by the heavy sword in his hand. On the other hand, Feng Yu's body was as light as a feather. In an instant, he appeared in front of a sage state expert who wanted to escape. He flipped the folding fan in his hand and instantly took the life of the sage state expert. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them, one strong and one soft, killed the group of sage state experts who were about to escape in an instant. Seeing this scene, many people who had wanted to take advantage of Luo Qingtong's bloodline elixir turned pale. They secretly rejoiced that they had not taken advantage of the situation to take advantage of it. Chapter 850. The power of the Black Field's Hell Venerable was like this. As they thought in their hearts, they all lowered their heads in cold sweat. Yi Qianxian didn't even look at them. He only looked at Empress Dowager, Yan Shi, and Old Master Luo, and said, "I'll leave these people to you. I'll get people to give you all their information." His words meant that the forces behind these people would absolutely not be able to escape. The Black Domain's intelligence network was powerful enough to find out all 8 generations of their ancestors. Thank you, Hell Venerable. Even if they already knew that Great Young was behind this, Empress Dowager, Yin Shi, and the others might not be able to find evidence. Now that they heard that Yi Qianxian was going to make a move, they were suddenly pleasantly surprised. Especially Empress Dowager, Yin Shi, the ugly expression on her face eased. The scene just now was really too thrilling. Those who made a move were all experts from the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty. If they really succeeded, not only would they lose the bloodline pill, their Great Chu would also suffer heavy losses, and they would also have to face the anger of the Blackfield. After all, looking at Yi Qianxian's attitude of protecting Luo Qingtong just now, who would believe that there was no ambiguous relationship between the two? Thinking so, even though Empress Dowager Yin Shi's temperament was calm, she was also scared out of cold sweat just now. Not to mention old Master Luo. He almost couldn't restrain himself and rushed up to ask his granddaughter how she was. Fortunately, he still remembered that he couldn't casually expose his granddaughter's identity and had been restraining himself. But his eyes couldn't help but look at Luo Qingtong. People who didn't know would think that he had just married Empress Dowager Yin Shi and had taken a fancy to the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. "Why are you here so soon?" Luo Qingtong was held in Yi Qianxian's arms and asked with a smile. She sensed the man's presence the moment he appeared. She stood there motionlessly, waiting for him to appear. As for those experts of the Sage Realm, if they could still hurt her in front of this man, then the Blackfield Hell Venerable would have long been replaced. Luo Qingtong had absolute confidence in this man's strength. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and said, "Those people must have thought that you would appear at the end or at the end." Therefore, when he saw her appear alone with the bloodline pill in her hand, he immediately had evil intentions. He wanted to hit the target with one strike and then immediately escape. It wasn't wrong for them to think that way. If Yi Qianxian wasn't here, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have been able to resist the combined strength of several Sage Realm experts. Unless Little Pig unsealed his strength, but that would instantly suck all of her strength dry and damage her foundation. "My lord, thank you." Luo Qingtong looked up at Yi Qianxian with a smile. The Rakshasa ghost mask on her face was sinister and evil. Coupled with the curve of her lips, she had an indescribable evil charm. "If you really want to thank me, I'll repay you with my body." Yi Qianxian snorted coldly. Just a word of thanks was enough? Did this woman think that his life-saving grace was so cheap? Luo Qingtong coughed lightly and was about to say something when old Master Luo, who was standing at the side, could not help but step forward and ask, "Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, are you all right?" Meeting Grandfather Luo's concerned eyes, Luo Qingtong's heart felt warm. She immediately nodded and said, "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, Grand Yao." She looked at Yi Qianxian and said with a smile, "May I know what gift the Lord has brought for Grand Yao and Empress Dowager Yin Shi?" It was inauspicious for something like this to happen at a wedding. Luo Qingtong didn't want her grandparents' wedding to be ruined. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.